Hello, Trailblazers. Welcome to the Trailblazers Palette Podcast. I'm your host, Sancha Marshall. Today I'm chatting with UK-based artist Kristi Kazar. Kristi shares how she went from a corporate consulting career into becoming an artist after experiencing burnout. We talk about motherhood, building a creative business, and the unseen work that happens before things start to grow. She also shares the idea behind what she calls her Book of Life Lessons. These are paintings that capture moments and reminders of the things that matter most. Kristi, it's so lovely to have you on the podcast today, and I was so excited that you said yes to being a guest and joining me, so thank you so much for being here. Now, to start off with, what's your favourite way to start your day?
Okay, favorite way. Every morning, my kids come into my bed about 5 a.m. They just, for basically to sleep for the rest of the night. And this is my favorite thing to do, to cuddle with each other and start the day with connection. So I never put my alarm on in the mornings to wake up early. We just wake up when we're ready. Yeah, it's the daily ritual.
That's beautiful.
And then after that, the day starts slowly. By 9 o'clock, we're ready to do work.
And I guess then leading into that, like what is an average day for you as an artist? What does that look like?
Mm-hmm. It's a bit unpredictable, to be honest with you, because it's not really like a 9 to 5. Every day can be different. So sometimes I work weekends. Sometimes I have to work in the evenings, depending on what I have to do, because I'm still quite early in my career and of having a business. Because as an independent artist, it's not just the art that you have to do, it's everything else that comes with it. I try and juggle it in between my main priority of being a parent. So Monday to Friday, I work always between the school hours, 9 a.m. till 3 p.m. But because of kind of having this limited time, I tend to work also in the evenings and often at the weekends. But Sunday tends to be the day where it's a family day, and we just spend time together. Most days are not like any other, basically. But I'm hoping that in the future there'll be more structure to this. Whilst the children are small and they need me, I don't want to have too rigid times in our home, so I can kind of do both.
Yeah, it's nice to have that flow, isn't it? That it's not so sort of structured that you can't give and take with the time as an artist. Do you find that boundary difficult, like having time in your studio?
Yeah.
Like balancing motherhood and being an artist?
It can be challenging. I think in the beginning, it was challenging because I was conscious that I didn't want to be always working. But I also wanted my kids to be able to see that when you have a dream, that you can just go for it. You've got to work hard for it. It's not just about wishing and, it just happens magically. So there was a balance, but I had to learn that balance. There are things that I did to help me. I've put my studio in my garage so I can shut the door and not feel like I can't focus. This is just my personal space where they know when I go there, that is my time. I try and have clear rules. So for example, if the door to the office is shut, that means you cannot come in here unless it's an emergency. But obviously they can just knock if it's something serious, But just setting these little boundaries and teaching children that my time is important as well. I've got to focus on myself, on my business. They learn that pretty fast. And it really does help, because as women, as mothers, we tend to feel so guilty. Am I doing too much? Am I not doing enough? So I think for children, it's important to see that you can also look after yourself as well and not just be readily always available at any time.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you're right, it's so important and also so hard to do, I find.
Yeah, it's not easy. A lot of the time, like yesterday, they just came in here and they were just messing with my computer and they were having so much fun and I just couldn't say no. So I've got nothing done.
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
Because I think those moments are precious, and I know that like my kids as they've gotten older, I think those times when they were little like that, I kind of go, oh, that was really sweet, and I'm glad that I had the time to do that with them because they're kind of off doing their own things now.
Exactly. This is kind of how I feel. Am I going to regret not putting enough effort in now? Because they only get one childhood and it's so short, isn't it?
Mm, absolutely. So, Kristi, how did you become an artist?
So it actually started with a burnout. I was working a corporate job. I was working as a consultant and I was away from home quite frequently. And to be honest with you, I felt disconnected for quite some time. I tried to like change jobs and a few different things, but I knew just something wasn't right. And even though I enjoyed the work, it was I knew it wasn't something that I wanted to do. But then again, I also didn't know what I wanted to do. So eventually I ended up having a burnout, constantly overworking. Also in the consulting world, it can be a little bit cutthroat. Obviously with two small kids, I thought I'm just wasting my time, wasting my life. And this constant pressure of not being enough, not being present with the kids, doing so much work and not feeling fulfilled. So that ended up with a burnout. I decided to take a year out to look after myself. That was 2.5 years ago. So it wasn't long at all. And I never even considered that art could be an option for me because I grew up thinking and being told that art is not just something serious. You can never make income from it. It's like a kid's dream. So as I was going through my sabbatical for my time off work, I was trying to think, well, what could I do? What do I enjoy doing? And creativity always kept coming back, but I always pushed it away until one time, that was December 2 years ago, I decided to paint some flowers. And as I was doing it, I felt like for the first time in many years, my mind was quiet because living through burnout for many years, constant anxiety, I even forgot what it's like to have clarity and calmness in my mind. And I knew then that I loved it so much. It had such benefits to my mental health as well. I just wanted to do it all the time. Of course, I didn't realize what it's going to take to become an artist. I just thought, I want to make it happen. Let's do this. In that excited, delusional way.
Mm.
So I've been painting ever since. I've been sharing my work ever since. And it's been the best experience, really.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that journey. How have you found that journey from going from that corporate world to what you're doing now in the way of like how hard it is and work-life balance?
I had to do a lot of unlearning because
Mm.
I was so used to being like performing, doing well, kind of knowing that if I put effort in, I see the result right away. With having a business, that doesn't really work like this. You could be putting so much effort in and seeing no results for a long time, but the consistency and self belief is what will actually help you in the end. And some of the things that I've had to learn to help me on the way is you have to learn to trust yourself, to believe in yourself, because it is going to be really tough. It's probably the toughest thing I've ever done for myself because of the mental challenges, overcoming the self doubt, the constant effort that you put in and you don't see any results for a very long time. It was definitely different. I was used to just doing my hours and getting paid for them. And as well, I was not getting paid for the amount of effort I was putting in.
Mm.
There was no results, no pay, nothing. And it just seemed crazy. Like, sometimes I'll be questioning, why am I doing this? But for me, the biggest transformation was learning how to overcome that, how to continue seeing the bigger picture, how to not let the self doubt and worry overtake everything. because obviously I did consider, shall I just go back to work? Our mind tends to forget what it was like before, to
Yeah.
escape. So yeah, the journey definitely has not been the easiest, because at first, even though I loved the painting, I still had to make sure I learned the techniques. I needed to learn marketing, because my aim is to be an independent artist. So that means that I have to do my own marketing. I have to learn how to sell. Working for somebody else and selling their products is highly different to trying to sell yourself. And as well, the other skills, like I said, like marketing, those were all new to me. It wasn't part of my job. So it's all just a big learning curve, and you don't see the compounding until quite far in.
Mm.
So for me, it was just seeing and believing
Yeah,
and
yeah.
keep learning all the time. But yeah, that's how I
Yeah.
found it so far. And to be honest with you, I did think that about around a year and a half in is when I started to really start seeing the results. My
Mm.
email list was growing. I was getting clearer on the style of art that I wanted to paint, my own self expression, how I could connect with people better, coming out of my comfort zone, and also learning to talk to people. All of that stuff, it only started to really show itself about a year and a half in, with
Yeah.
hardly any results.
Mm, mm. And I know a lot of artists struggle with this. How did you keep yourself motivated? Because there was obviously the option that you could have gone back to work. How did you, I guess, every day recommit to that journey that this is what I want, this is what I really want to do?
At different times, it was different things. I remember my daughter, when I was working as a consultant, she kept on saying to me, I wish you didn't have to work on a computer. I wish you didn't have to be away. And I knew I wasn't doing it for her. I was still doing it for myself. But I knew that when my mind was forgetting how actually overworked I was back then, I would remember the times where my kids would point out how I was not present at all, and that kind of kept me going, because I would just say to myself, you are forgetting that you like it wasn't easy then either. This is just a different path. It just takes time for you to learn how to do this well. You've just got to keep going, because if you give up now, that's before you've put so much effort now, basically just to get this far, not to see the fruit of your efforts.
Mm.
And there is an artist, she said this quote to me. She said, you didn't come this far just to come this far. And it really stuck with me, because I've put so much effort in just to get to this point. You
Mm.
know, I needed to keep pushing, to keep going. And at times, when I was considering, maybe I should just go back to my old job, my husband was there to support me. And I have to give him credit, because he believes in me, luckily for me, more sometimes than I believe in myself. And having these people around me who believe in what I want to do, what I can offer, has been one of the biggest things, because having that community of people who root for you, it makes it so much easier. And I know that this is a real privilege, and a lot of people don't have this. So I am really grateful to have this type of support. It's not an easy path
Mm.
to choose.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a soul path, isn't it? It's very much I
Yeah,
don't know. I do feel like being an artist is kind of like a calling, as cliche as that is to say, but it's you could choose something else and get money so much easier than this.
exactly. Exactly. If it was just about the money, I probably would have done my old job,
Yeah.
and tried to do whatever is expected of me. But I think if I were to do this all over again, I probably would have done it in a smarter way. But because I had burnout, I wasn't really thinking straight a lot of the time. I just needed to look after myself. I think if I was to do it again, I probably would have tried to have a part time job of some sort, just to alleviate the money pressures. Having
Right.
those money pressures, it did actually force me to work more and to be like really consistent, because like my husband was obviously working, but his income was not enough for us to keep going. You know, we were both like on similar wages before, so not having my income was a big issue for our family. Like we really needed that. And that often would put a lot of pressure on me, and it did help to keep going, but at the same time it would have made things a little bit easier if I just had a 1 or 2 days part-time job, which would really help to pay the bills. So that's what one thing I'd definitely change and do
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah. Hindsight, hey, with the path that
Yeah.
you would choose.
Exactly, still do it, but just in a smarter way maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's all part of, I guess, trying and failing and learning. And
Exactly, definitely.
Kristi, how did you come to decide to paint what you do?
So at first, I was painting women, basically the emotional lives of them. Because for me, the
Yeah.
process of becoming an artist was the process of finding myself again after many layers of societal expectations and masking for most of my life, trying to please everybody. So a lot of my earlier work was around figuring those feelings out and finding myself again. So I was doing that for quite a bit, but I knew that this wasn't something that I wanted to do long term, because I was already feeling so much more empowered by that point. But I wasn't sure what exactly I could do. And every artist feels this need that, oh, you got to figure out your style right now, it takes time.
Yeah.
So I was thinking for ages, like trying different things, figuring out what I could be doing. And I think a lot of it was first figuring out what I'm even about, getting to know myself better. It's
Mm.
really hard to do this when you don't know yourself, when you're so used to being everything to everyone else. How can you ever know what you like? I honestly, 2 years ago, probably couldn't even tell you much about myself, because it was just so much for everyone else. So having a constant journal and writing things down, learning to reflect on things, has really helped me to figure out what I'm like as a person. But then came a moment which changed everything for me. I had an exhibition. It's called Flux Exhibition. During that exhibition, a man came to my stand and he said to me that he has Alzheimer's now, and he used to be a painter, an artist, but with his memories, he's also lost his ability to paint. But throughout his lifetime, he kept journals of everyday things. So he wrote everything down every single day.
Wow.
So now he remembered his life through those moments, even though he didn't remember people exactly, but he still felt like he had a thread of his memory remaining through those journals. And before he left, he said to me, document everything. That just really stayed with me. On a drive
Yeah.
home that day, couldn't stop thinking about him. I was thinking about him for ages after that, constantly, like everything that he told me, how life is about memories, remembering things that matter to us. So when I got home, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to document things that matter to me, things that life is teaching me, that I don't want to forget, that I wish to maybe pass on to my children one day, um, and also connect with people who feel the same way. Since then, I've been painting what I call a book of life lessons. It's not me trying to teach people the lessons, it's the lessons that life is teaching me that I feel are important, that I want to document. And instead of writing them in lots of journals and forgetting the little notes, having that visual anchor of the important things, I hope is going to help other people to also remember the things that matter to them.
Yeah. And I think that's where I connected on your work. It was in your series that you've done with and I got two of the prints, which was I think Formed and Curiosity, was it, with the
Yes,
sunflower
yes.
and the little girl. And I think I just really loved how you had the paintings, but you wrote the letters to go with them,
Hmm.
like the journal
Exactly.
entries. Do you mind talking about those? Because, like, for people who don't know what that series was, because I know it really touched my heart. I don't know, it reminded me, I guess, of how I felt when I was younger, and just that sort of curiosity and but also
Hmm.
the encapsulating the journey that you go on as a woman, and that you reconnecting with yourself. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, so you're right. That collection was the first one that came out, and that painting, Stay Curious, was the first one that I did straight after meeting Tony.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, because for me, that specific painting, Stay Curious, it's about childlike curiosity, something that we lose as we grow older. And in fact, we're socialized and encouraged to lose that through learning
Mm.
or being told to be realistic. And that's what I was not so long ago. And learning to be curious again was one of the main things that allowed me to pursue a career in art. Learn how to paint, learn how to do marketing, learn how to connect with people, tell the story, journal. All of those things, they were learned through curiosity because I wanted to do it, not because I was told it will give
Mm.
me money or some, things. So I thought that was a really important lesson, and that was the first lesson. It depicts a sunflower and a girl sitting on the sunflower. She's reaching for the butterfly as a metaphor to keep reaching, to not settle, to always chase your dreams, and to stay curious. And what inspired me to do that was the journal, the note that I wrote for myself, which then I have turned into a little card that comes with a painting. So each painting in all basically in this collection going forward will have a note that inspired it. And it's not really about me because these are universal things.
Mm.
It's just the whole purpose of these paintings is to serve as an anchor for what a person already wants. Somebody who already feels that they want to stay curious, they want to remember this. It's just a visual anchor for them to help them with it. So in that collection, Stay Curious was one of them. The second one was Unseen Work. Unseen work is what I was talking about earlier. All the effort that you put in at first, you do not see any results at all until ages after. And that painting had bees, a little woman with a backpack carrying honeycomb. And the metaphor and the symbolism of that is like bees, they put so much effort, they're constantly working, they do not see the honey. It takes time to build that. But once it's there, the sweetness is coming. It's just something to remember that. And that painting actually is one of the things that helped me when I was doubting myself, because like quite recently, because I was thinking, you have been through this before, you've doubted yourself before, you've just got to keep going. So I have that painting, that print in my studio as well, because it just helps me to remember to keep going when things get hard. So this is the purpose of what I'm working now, and I'm hoping that this work is gonna be something that I'm working on for many years from now. I'm sure life will keep teaching me many lessons.
Yeah, I love that, and it's kind of amazing to think, like, in a few years' time, maybe to look back on that journey as well,
Exactly.
and this series that will be, from those journal entries and all of the artwork. That would be quite amazing.
Thank you. I hope so. And that's why I kind of called it the Book of Life Lessons, because for me, I want it to feel like it's a collection of things. It's not just a random things, it's a volume of things. And I'm so excited to see, when I can flip back through all the pictures and see, okay, I remember that.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I think I know a few years ago I did put together. It was just like a thing online. It was like a photo book of previous work. It just reminded me of that. And sometimes it's nice to go back, and I think artworks kind of do serve as journal entries in a way, don't they? Because they remind
Yeah,
you quite strongly, like you say, that visual anchor of that feeling at the time. And I've always felt like that in art, we learn about life, and life we learn it, like it's all intertwined.
definitely.
I imagine you probably,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
And there's so many lessons we learn in art.
Definitely. This is so true because, well, at least that's what I found. Because at the moment we
Mm,
live in times where everything is so fast paced, isn't it? Disposable. There's an overload of information, so much stuff to listen to hear, algorithms. So we've kind of been taught not to slow down and not to reflect. But a lot of the time, because art takes a long time to create, it's not AI art where you just, click a button and it's there.
mm,
It's many, many hours of process, and whilst you're doing it, it forces you to reflect, to go in, and to slow down. These are the things that we don't
yeah.
really do so much anymore because we've not got that attention span to even do something for long enough. So
Mm,
I think it does help you to reflect on everything if you are slowing down.
yeah. Yeah, it's very easy to get lost in, I think, that sort of quick dopamine of, I guess, consuming rather than creating. So art's a really beautiful balance, I find, of just making life feel so much nicer.
Yes, exactly. I suppose you probably feel the same with your own work.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that I need to do more of it. I've probably with balancing homeschool and that the last year it's not been quite as frequent as I would like, but I know that when I'm painting, I feel like I'm such a better person anyway. I feel like,
Mm.
that mental side of life is so much clearer. Maybe that's because yeah, I don't know. You're working with your hands and I don't know, just creating something.
Yeah, that's very true. It's nice also to do something where you're by yourself. I think as mothers, as parents, we don't really get so much time for ourselves. And I know it's obviously important
Mm,
that we raise good humans, but also it's nice to have time that's just ours. And that can be painting. I think it's important for most people to do something, even if it's not a job. It's just for their own
mm,
pleasure and not feel bad about it. Because I know myself, 3 years ago, I would feel bad about spending a couple of hours in the evening painting. I would be like, are you crazy? Why would you do that? You got like a big to do list of things. So, yeah,
yeah.
not feeling guilty about it and just doing something creative is one of the most important things that we can do for our own growth as well.
Yeah. I know talking to you, Christy, that I think you've inspired me too. Just that you seem to have that really good boundary of, okay, I'm doing this art now, or like, how do you follow what you are inspired to, along with balancing the selling of your art? Like, is there the thought when you're creating, is this going to sell well, or does that side of it ever encroach on your creative
I
side?
think, of course, it will, because I would
Mm,
be so delusional if I said, no, I don't care if anybody's going to buy it. Because the reality of things is, I have a mortgage and I have 2 kids and I don't have a job. So I'm not in a position to just not think about that stuff at all. I have to think about me and my
mm,
family as well. That's not to say that my art is massively changed by these thoughts, but it is something that I consider. I do think sometimes, if I'm going to create this, are the people also going to love it? Will somebody connect with it? And actually being conscious of not just myself, but also of other people. I've honestly met the people I never even dreamt of meeting, the people who are so similar to me, that by making the art not just about myself, of course, it's inspired by my own stories and my own experiences, but making it not just purely about me. has allowed me to connect with so many people who I wouldn't have otherwise met. People on a similar path, people with similar interests. Like daily nowadays, I receive messages from people who have really inspiring stories, who might connect with my work, who just, it's honestly the warmest and kindest community that I could have ever dreamt of. It's not something I even imagined was possible when I was starting out. So, yes, being conscious of how my art will connect with other people. Yeah, of course, I'm conscious of it. I'm not trying to create, art that's going to really fit with a sofa. That's not really what I'm doing, because I know I probably wouldn't be satisfied with it. Maybe.
And I love that you're doing that.
Thank you. I'm sure maybe in the future I might like to. I'm not like really constraining myself too much, but right now, yeah, I'm conscious of it a little bit, I would say, because it does help to
Yeah,
connect with
yeah, I
people.
love that. I love that you're following your heart rather than what matches the sofa.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's beautiful.
Thank you.
How do you find social media and the online world as an artist? Like, how do you approach Instagram and I guess that as a tool, and what things
Hmm.
have you found useful?
So I, you've mentioned before we started, you have a love-hate relationship with social media. I'm a little bit like this as well.
Yes.
And a lot of it is because before starting this art journey, I wasn't really using social media. I had an account, but like I don't even think I ever opened that, because I was always conscious of time. Time to me is so important. But I've had to since change my mindset about it, because I often find that having a negative mindset around social media, it's stopping a lot of people to actually put out their best work and for it to be seen. So what I try and think now is, this is a free platform. This type of thing was not available in the past. I'm so lucky to get to use this to connect with people. I'm not trying to create trendy content. I'm trying to actually share my work through that with people otherwise I would never have connected with. And when I create my videos, I try and think, how can I best package what I have to share with people so they can also enjoy it? And by thinking first about the viewer, it allows me then to get out of my ego, get out of my head, and actually serve the people who would really love the art. So by flipping the switch in my head and not thinking of it as a time drain, but thinking of it, I'm adding value to somebody's life by creating something that they'll connect with. Maybe it will be an anchor for them as well. It really helps me to not, to basically to use it in a positive way. And I think a lot of the
Mm.
worries with social media nowadays is consuming too much. So what I try and do is I try and train my social media. So I'm only showing the stuff that I actually do want to see. So on purpose, I will not click on things that I don't want to see much more of. I will consciously remove the stuff that I don't want on there. So the stuff that I am seeing on there is more learning things, things that I'm interested in, more slower content. And to be honest with you, since doing that, I'm not really thinking so much of social media as a drag. I do take breaks from it. I'm quite strict with how much I'll use it, like daily limits. I'm not ever using it in front of my children. I don't want them thinking that it's okay to just sit there for me and show it to them. So there are strict rules, but I am using it hopefully as an advantage to me and other people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that sounds so good. Like I think that's a it's nice you have those clear boundaries. I know for me I find that they blur very
Oh,
easily, and
yeah.
so I find it, yeah, really difficult to sometimes not scroll or, yeah, look at the things maybe I shouldn't.
Well, I honestly, I am the same. I find it so hard because I love watching funny videos or like really silly stuff. But then I remember if I do that, that's like half an hour gone. And I said to my husband, please, when
Mm.
you see me doing that stuff, just tell me. And actually, sometimes it caused us arguments. Gonna be like, stop telling me what to do. But long term, even though I asked you not to do it.
I'm I'm laughing out of knowing that because I think I've had similar conversations with my husband in that he's like, yeah, hey, and I've said, yeah, tell me to hop off it, but then it's no, don't tell me what to do.
Exactly. It's like, can't make your mind up. But it does help, because then
Yeah.
he did say to me the other day,
Yes.
I've noticed you've been on your phone more and in front of the kids. And then I was like, no, I wasn't. You were making it up. And he was like, no, you were. I've noticed. And he told me the times. And then I was like, okay, that's fair enough. So then since then, having
Mm.
that, realization, sometimes we just don't even realize that we're doing it because we're just kind of in the swing
Yeah.
of things. But sometimes having that really helps to stop and to really think, yeah, that's not really what I want, for my kids and for me.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody is super perfect. Well, at least I'm not really perfect with that, but it's just like
No, I don't know anyone.
exactly a push and pull relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's nice that you have that with your partner because I know, yeah, my partner is very much like that for me. The sort of, very encouraging and, like you say, believing you knew more than you do.
Exactly. Honestly, it's the best thing. I often think I wouldn't have
Mm,
been able to do this without having this type of support. It is important. The people in our
yeah.
lives are extremely important.
Yeah, I know for me, I think that it's easy to take that for granted sometimes. So it's nice to hear somebody else say it to go, yeah, I do. I need to appreciate that more.
Yeah, definitely. It is easy to take it for granted because they're here all the time. But,
Mm.
they don't have to be. I always say to myself, he
Yeah.
doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to do these things. He could easily just get on with his own stuff. So, and I pull
Mm.
back. I think, thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Now, Chrissy, I was going to ask you how you feel about AI and using it in the artistic process personally for, like, I guess, writing captions, or
Hmm.
I know some people like name artworks, or however that, it plays into different artists' work for different things.
So when AI first came out, I was like, when ChatGPT first came out and I knew about it, I was
Mm.
like, wow, this is so cool. This is like really interesting how it can do it. I'm not a great writer. I never have been a great writer, to be honest. Always struggled with my words. So having somebody that can write so good, I was thinking in my head, wow, that's a dream. But then what I've realized quite quickly actually is that I was outsourcing my thinking to somebody else. And what I wasn't using, I was losing. I started to question, can I even write my own stuff? Can I do this myself? I haven't used it like for artistic things, but I have used it for writing things. And very quickly I
Mm.
realized that I'm not going to be able to do this myself at all if I constantly over rely on something to do it. And what I started to notice after the first initial hype and excitement is everything that's written by AI just sounds the same. There is no depth, there is no
Mm.
feeling, there is no personality. Even when it's slightly different, my brain just started to switch off
Mm.
whenever I saw captions written by ChatGPT. I felt like I just couldn't be bothered reading it. I would just skip it. And that's when I knew I cannot continue using that. It's not really adding anything to my life at all, apart from doing some admin tasks, which are like, obviously, as a business owner, you have to like outsource some things, but creative things like writing, um, even though I've done it in the past, I try not to use it at all for that stuff. In fact, I don't anymore because it loses the authenticity. And yes, it's a faster process because you can just tell it and I'll write
Mm.
it prettily, but it's not authentic and it just sounds templated, the same. Everybody's
Yeah.
captions, they just sound the same. Everybody's story sounds the same. Everybody's meaning of their artwork then sounds the same. So what is the purpose of that? You know? There's so much AI out there
Yeah.
nowadays. I just think I always feel like the hype for it might just die down and people will start valuing the
Mm.
real, real things that take time to make.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope that's happening already. I think well, I feel like it is
Hmm.
because like you, I like how you worded that it's outsourcing our thinking because that's what I found personally too was that, yeah, in the beginning it was kind of like, oh, this is really cool. And like I'd ask it something or I'd, get it to, or I'd write something and then I'd be like, oh, I wonder how ChatGPT would say that. And
Hmm.
it ended up, I think it has a voice. So it's like an AI voice, and it feels once you've used it a fair bit, it all feels the same, and you can kind of pick. People say you can't, but I think if you've used it, you can kind
You
of pick when
can.
it's been
You can
used.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
That's why, because there was someone saying that no, you can't tell if you tweak it a little bit. I'm like, you still kind of can because it tends to have traits. I think.
Exactly. And a lot of people use it, but I think what they do is they might use it as a brainstorming partner. They might feed it some info,
Hmm.
do some back and forth with it, and then actually write the copy themselves based on some of the points that discussed. I think that's probably not too bad,
Yeah.
but writing things without your own input, that's when I think you can really
Yeah.
notice that's not really person wrote that.
Yes, yes, especially as like an artist. I don't know. Because I was finding, just say you've done an artwork and you give it certain information, it would miss some of the really important parts of what I felt was the inspiration.
Hmm.
So just in it writing something, and I think that the way I would write it would be very different to how, even given the information, it would bring it about.
Yeah. I definitely think that because it seems to like it pulls information through all the sources on the internet, not just through our own experience. And I think what makes art special is your worldview, how you process the
Mm,
information. And yes, a lot of art is actually being inspired by other artists. So it's not like it's just completely new, whatever we're thinking, but it's still filtered through our own lens. But when ChatGPT or other
mm.
AI is filtering it through the lens of everybody else in the world or every information that's ever been done, that's not really the same as your vision that you started with. At least that's not how I think it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. No, I feel the same way. I feel that it's I don't know, it like kind of lost its shininess
Yeah,
for me.
exactly.
And I love reading, I guess, artists' newsletters or their captions or anything, and I love to be able to imagine it's them speaking. I don't know, and some people do that really well. I think you do
Mm,
that really well, Christy, and there's some other artists I know who do that, and I really admire that.
thank you. That means a lot to me because I've grown up thinking that I was so bad with my words and I found it really difficult always to talk, to
Yeah.
tell a story. So doing this through art was such a breath of fresh air because I could actually say what I wanted to say, but not worry so much about the words.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which is fun because yeah, when you said that, I thought, oh wow, because I think you write so well.
Thank you. That means a lot to me.
What do you think some of the biggest lessons you've learnt through your are?
Hmm. Well, I think one of the most important lessons that I've learned, probably I would say the most important one, is you can literally do anything. You can do anything. When the world tells you from a young age you cannot, and we learn this and we kind of take it with us all the time, we're told to be realistic. Actually, that's not true because people are doing things all the time. It's just we're not probably seeing that. We cannot imagine ourselves doing those things. And believing that we can do is actually what will help us do it. And having that, what people say, slightly delusional way of thinking that I will be capable of doing this is what I've learned the most. Like before, I would never have thought I could do art, I could do marketing, I could connect with people, I could write. But learning to think that I could, because why can't I? If somebody else can, why can't another person do it? We can all achieve the same things if only we want to, if that's kind of our goal. I remember when I first started art, somebody really close to me said, that is the stupidest thing ever. Like, who even can make any income from art? Like, why would you swap your good job for this stuff? And their opinion mattered so much to me. It was like a big role model for me growing up. And I really questioned myself so much at that moment. And for a long time, for many months since, I was like, really, maybe I am silly, you know? But actually, when now I realize that that person is not an artist, that person doesn't have a business, that person has not achieved what I want to, where I want my path to be. We cannot keep listening to people who
Mm.
haven't lived the life that we want to live. The only people that we can and should listen is probably ourselves, people that, you know, have done the path that we want to do, who are closer to the goal where we want to get to. So for me, learning to stop listening to those voices and learning that we can do anything, just look up to people who have done it in the past, believe in yourself. That was the biggest lesson. That's what I really wish to teach my kids as well. I hope I will be able to. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure that you're on an awesome path to do that already, just from what you've said and what they would be observing with you as their mum, and I guess what you're creating. I think it's amazing.
Thank you. I hope so. We'll see.
And yes, I love what you said there about looking to our influences and what opinions we put on that pedestal, because I think as humans we kind of, or I do naturally, have people that I listen to that aren't necessarily in the arena of where I want to head. And so I think that's something I've learned just this year, is to kind of demote some opinions
Mm-hmm.
because they haven't experienced or they aren't doing what I want to do.
Exactly.
And I wasn't very good at that, I think, up until recently.
Think once we start realizing that everybody has got a different worldview, that's not to say theirs is wrong and mine
Mm,
is right. It's just different. We can't expect somebody to see
yeah,
the vision that we have for ourselves through their own lens because they just see the world differently. And that really helped
yeah.
me to not get mad with people, not be offended by it. It's just have an understanding and realization that they're just not seeing it my way. That's it.
Mm,
Stops the
mm,
arguments, because I used to get really upset about these things, but it doesn't really affect me anymore.
yeah. That's a nice place to come to. I think that
Yeah.
it's you can feel more solid in yourself as an artist. And I guess how, in the early days when you said you had that year and a half that you felt unseen,
Hmm.
like how did you deal with disappointment and discouragement during that time?
Not always great, to be honest with you. I
Mm.
cried a lot and I just complained, but what helps me get over things is to do things. If I stay too long complaining or feeling like sad, it can just go downhill for me from there. Of course, it's nice to just sometimes offload, recognize your feelings, but for me, I have to take action. And I always know that if I feel sad, if only I go and I just do the first thing on my to-do list very quickly, I'll feel better. It's that realize the time between the self-doubt and the disappointment to taking that first action, the shorter that time is for me, the faster I'll get back on track. And haven't done this so many times, haven't had so many disappointments, failed things, being told no, I've learned to reduce that time to as little as possible. I still do this, still can, obviously. We need some downtime to process things, but the sooner we get back up, at least I found for me, the easier it is then to
Mm.
get going with whatever we set out to do. The one thing that I'm really prone to is second guessing, like questioning. When things
Mm.
don't go my way or I have a failure, say like a disappointment, I'll start thinking, maybe that wasn't the right path. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should do this instead. And I thinking, shall I just turn the system around? But actually, what I have, like, you cannot see it here, but I've got all my wall is filled with notes I've written to myself. And I made a commitment that I have to just stick to whatever I've written there, even when I'm questioning myself. Because what I've done is I've done my research on what works and what doesn't. And I have people that I look up to who have done the things that I have written down. So everything is backed by data. And having a kind of a background, kind of more analytical background, I do need data sometimes to keep my brain at peace, and sane.
Yeah, yeah.
So knowing that when I've done that research and it's backed by real data, that I just need to go back to it, not question it, and just stick to the plan. Just stick to the plan and
Oh,
get back out
yeah.
right away. Because at first I was changing lanes all the time. I would try one thing first and I'm like, oh, it doesn't work. I've been told no. That's it. We're not doing this anymore. So I've learned to not do this. Just stick to one lane, stick to one system for long enough, let people get used to what you're doing, and then reassess in small iterations.
Yeah, I love that. I hadn't thought of it that way about the data, because I think that's a really cool way. Like, do you mind sharing an example of that, like how that's actually worked for you?
Yeah, so for example, let's say there are some artists that I look up to that I can see that they're doing a really good job. Like, for example, working in collections
Mm.
and having a repeatable system. So instead of just saying, this is just a one off painting, it's part of a bigger picture. Sometimes I want to just go and just paint what I fancy doing instead of just sticking to what I set
Mm.
out for myself to do. But referring back to how those artists are organizing their time, their day, it helps me to stick on that path. Another thing is having better systems in terms of like the email marketing or sending out the
Mm.
emails. For me, this is like the hardest thing to do. I always struggle to fit it in because it's the writing again, and I just put it to the last place. But I know that from doing so much research and from people saying it, this is the most important thing that you can do. This is your closest connection with people. So I've really, really focused on it, focused on my lead generation, trying to find people who connect with the work and doing it consistently. At first, like nothing was happening, but I just stuck with it, using similar things, similar systems. And I've seen like really good, I wouldn't say a great growth, but I've seen good growth from that. I've seen really good things come out of it. I have really close relationship with my email list, with some people in my email list. So sticking to it even when I didn't want to, and referring back to the artists who are doing it well and learning from them, being inspired by them, even when I didn't want to. It's just allowed me to keep going with it and not quit it after I don't see, at first I didn't see any sales from the email list. I was like, what's the point of wasting my time on this thing? But I know
Mm.
other people are doing it. Why don't we just get inspired by them? And now it's completely different. It's one of the main things for me.
Yeah. I know that your email, and there's a couple of other artists as well. Like, I love getting them. I'm always excited when I see like your name and a couple of others
Oh,
in
thank you.
my subscript. I have a subscriptions folder, so I get, there's heaps of things in there. But whenever there's a couple, I'm like, oh, I have to read that one and that one.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
So just to inspire you to,
To keep
with your
going
your
with it.
emails.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it is. It's that sometimes we can feel like it's empty, or I know I can, that when there's not always the feedback early on. There's not always that, like, we can question, why am I doing this?
Mhm.
Does it even matter? And I guess, how have you overcome those? Like, do you still get those moments, or not as much now?
I have compressed it quite a lot, actually. I used to really care if somebody just would write right away. Now I
Mm.
understand that people have their own lives. My art is not their number one priority. They've got
Yeah.
full things going on, same way as you and me do. And learning not to take it personally has been really helpful because our work comes from inside, like it's so personal. We really want people to connect with it. It's so meaningful to us. For me, it's like one of the most important things. So when you don't hear any feedback on that, it can be really disheartening. But actually, not making it about me, but making it about the other person and understanding that people just have lives. It helps me to make it not about me. And whenever they're ready, my art is there if they wish to look at it, if they wish to read it. It really does help.
Yeah. I think that's a lovely way to work through it and to, yeah, I guess feel like it has a meaning and a purpose for you as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like you've shared, like the man at the art fair with the Alzheimer's, and that art. I don't know. It connects people. Do you find that in like really beautiful ways,
Mm-hmm.
like the stories people share, or why they want to have something as a reminder in their home?
Yeah, I get that quite often actually. And I think this is why I know this path, like of choosing the life lesson path, was the right thing to do, because so many people have written to me saying how, say, something I've painted reminds them of a loved one, or like as an example, I painted a robin, just like a small one, and I called it Hope. And so many people wrote to me saying how Robin reminds them of, their loved ones. And it was a beautiful story. A lady wrote a review on my website for me, saying that she bought the print of the robin, and her daughter is actually called Hope as well.
Oh, that's so
I thought
nice.
that was so beautiful. And she said that she got that robin for her friend who'd recently lost a son. And whenever she sees a robin, like in a garden, she says that it's her son saying hello. And that lady also had a daughter called Robin. So in the review, like literally on my website, she
Wow.
wrote that, and I thought, wow, somebody's actually thought of my art to give to somebody as a way to comfort them. I mean, how can I ask for anything more than this? These beautiful stories of what art can do for people, I never even realized this could be a thing.
Yeah, I think when you're there and you're painting that painting, can never quite realize the impact it may have on somebody.
Exactly. I know that my art is not solving an actual problem like fixing a washing machine, or like helping grow social media. That's not really the purpose of art. It's on a much more visceral and meaningful level
Yeah.
than just the daily problems that we have. But those are just as important, if not more, the connections that we can have with people.
Yeah, I think that emotional connection and maybe even the realizations that the collector and you as the artist can have. I don't know, I find that I'll see my work a certain way, and then when it's put out there, someone else can see something completely different. But nearly those two coming together
Hmm.
is a really, I don't know, I find that a really special part of it.
Yes, definitely agree with you. Because you're creating it not really like for your own world lens, and they're coming in.
Mm.
Yeah, it is a beautiful way. We're lucky to be doing this.
Yes. Do you have a preferred medium like oils, watercolors?
Okay, this is my big problem. I love to use.
Or are you just like, you love
This
everything?
is the problem. I love everything. I want to use everything.
Yeah.
And what I've found with art is as much about expression as it is about constraint and restraint. Sometimes when we go all in and just try and like do too much, it might not turn out that great through my experience at all, at least. I mean, I like to use everything. And I like to put the spray paints, the acrylics, the inks, the oil paints, because I always feel like I've got this FOMO, like fear of missing out, that if I don't put that bit, it might not look great. But what I've realized most recently is actually sticking to same palettes, sticking to similar medium, maybe just limiting to 2 or 3 has really helped me to create better work, because we're not then in a decision fatigue, trying to think which ones shall I pick for this part, constantly overthinking it, and actually allowing ourselves to create freely without the constraint of, which media I'm going to use for this. So I do tend to prefer nowadays to work on raw canvas with acrylics and inks, because naturally I have like some problems with control. So I try to control too many things in my life, and learning to not do that. When I use oil paint, I try to be too precise. So that's why when I started to use raw canvas and acrylics and inks with a lot of water, it helps me to let go of the control. And in those, especially in those first layers, I don't want to overthink things. And as soon as you start overthinking it in the beginning of the painting, that could be downhill from there. So nowadays, I always try and focus on the medium that I cannot easily control, because water, you cannot easily control that. So I tend to layer that. And my preferred medium at the moment is soft body acrylics, inks, and water. But then once the initial layers are done, and I'm quite happy with how the more intuitive side of things have worked out, then I do actually love going with detail at that point. And then I'll make a decision whether I want to go in with more acrylics, texture paste, or I might like fix the surface, protect the surface with a medium, and then apply the oil paints. Because obviously the oil paint cannot go straight on the raw canvas because it will ruin the fibers over time. So you've got to protect the surface first and then go in with the oil paint. So I might do that. That I try to leave that detailed part right to the end, so that some of the initial layers can be just spontaneous and intuitive.
Yeah. And I think that comes through in your work, because I think there was one recently, like where you've got the ink washes. It was so serene. It's like you
Oh,
could get
thank
lost in
you.
it.
Yeah, this was one of those times where the first layers, I just went in trying to do the shapes and really feeling my way through the painting. And then I wasn't really thinking about the end result. I knew I wanted to paint the feeling of home. But then once I was happy with the first initial layers, only then I went in to think, where do I put the symbolism in within this image? And I used to in the past work with sources from the beginning. So I would create things and just be really structured, but that doesn't help my control problems at all. It doesn't feel like that creative for me, even though I did create the source. So not knowing the end result actually helps me to get out of my head and be okay with uncertainty. That's actually another thing that I found art really teaches us, is being okay with uncertainty, because you can never really predict how it's going to work out. Even when you have a great plan, things might
Yeah,
not go to plan.
that's so true. And I think I've like you, it's like it's a really, I don't know, when you're creating a piece, it can be when it's too tight, or you're trying to follow something too closely, or an idea. That's when I've found recently it's maybe also too when my skill isn't there. I'm not able to create exactly what I'm envisioning.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything becomes really controlled, and I get really frustrated. And it's so different though when there's just colors and freedom, and it's quite a contrast of how the pieces, I guess, work out.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of my best work has been more that intuitive free process.
Yeah, and it's really difficult to get out of that control where you want it to look just how you imagined it. I do that as well. I've noticed that some of my best work has been when I've allowed for accidents and made something better out of those accidents. I don't know, a wash or a spill, something on there that I didn't expect, but actually turning that into
Yeah.
something else, I feel like that's really nice. It works out quite well. Not always,
Yeah.
a lot of the
Yeah.
time.
No, not always.
Not always.
There's lots of failures.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I was going to ask you, Kristi, how you fit in commissions to your work.
I don't really take a lot of commissions for a few reasons, actually. I'm not promoting the commission process. If somebody asks me for a commission, I might do it then, but that's not really something I'm focusing on because I've enjoyed it a lot, though, to be honest with you. It's nice to create something with a person in mind because what art has taught me is that we are here to serve other people. It's not just all about ourselves. Of course, it's also about ourselves, but when I do a commission for somebody, knowing that that piece is going to really enrich somebody's life, it's really amazing. But at the same time, I find it really challenging to do it well, or how when I'm doing a commission, I'm constantly living in a state of second guessing and wondering, is this good? Is this how they want it? Because I don't have a vision in my head. I just have vision of how I see it from my own worldview. And when people do trust you as an artist to put their vision into your own form, it works out really beautifully. That doesn't always work that way, though.
Yeah.
And so far, I haven't done a lot of commissions, but the ones that I have done, people really laughed, and it was a beautiful thing. And I don't think I'm going to be doing many commissions going forward unless somebody would really love my style and their own story. For example, right now, I've got a commission for somebody where it's a memory piece. So it's a memory of their loved one and the things that they associate with that person, the lessons that they have learned and they have taught them. Because my art is about the life lessons. So that person, that type of commission really fits the worldview that I'm already building with my art. And I'm really excited about it because it's a super meaningful piece. So probably we'll do maybe just a few of those a year, and then we'll see from there.
Yeah, it's nice to hear that process. I always love hearing different artists' thoughts on commissions, and I know it's different for everybody. So yeah, it's interesting actually, because I think I've found something similar with commissions is that there is that, you know, tension of will they like it, but it can also be a really rewarding thing when somebody completely trusts you and they're blown away or so happy with the results.
Exactly. That feeling when you show them the art and they're like, oh
You're
my
like, are they going to
God,
hate
it's
it?
better than I thought. Exactly. And they say to you, it's better than I thought it would be. And I just think those moments is what I remember the most. It's not the painting of it. Of course, I love the painting of it, but it's how it makes somebody feel at the end when they see it, how they'll cherish it. It's really sweet and an amazing feeling.
It's been awesome to chat, Kristi. And just in finishing up, what are your plans for 2026 and where you want your art to head and anything exciting on the horizon?
In 2026, so far I'm doing the other art fair in
That's
London. I'm
amazing.
really excited about it. Thank you. I've done it in October, just passed, and honestly, it was such a great experience. So I wanted to do it again.
Yeah.
But this year, my main focus is on creating second volume of the life lessons. How I want to do it is by doing monthly releases. I have tried doing quarterly releases this year, and honestly, it has been really challenging because I'm not just one person, I don't have a team. So it's quite a lot of work to do everything for quarterly collection release. So my plan is to create my life lessons. The whole year is going to be volume 2. So each year I'm trying not to just think a collection is just a 3 month thing. It's just a whole year. It's whatever I've learned in that year is the volume, is the collection. It's just going to be released monthly. And like I said, this is one of the systems that I've got written there. And I have to just stick with it, even if I don't want to sometimes. That's the plan. And my goal this year is just on reaching more people, being more conscious of life, not letting life just pass by learning more from it and sharing those lessons with others.
Love that. Well, I'm excited for
Thank
you
you.
for 2026. And because I know as an artist, I'm really looking forward to 2026 and creating. And so
A lot of things, same.
And I will put in the show notes your website and your Instagram. And where's the best place to find you, Kristi?
Instagram, I use that a lot. My email list would be amazing because that's where I have closer relationships with people. And my website. But on Instagram is where I share most of my process behind the scenes. It would be lovely to have you there.
Awesome. And thank you so much for joining me, Kristi. It's been really lovely to get to know you and hear all about your art and the art journey.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. I love chatting to you.
Thank you for joining us on the Trailblazers Palette podcast. We appreciate your support. Don't forget to subscribe and share if you enjoyed the episode. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations with incredible guests. Keep blazing your trail, and until next time, stay inspired. This is Sancha, your host, signing off. See you soon, Trailblazers.